Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajak Acharya Ashottara Satashi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajak Acharya Ashottara Satashi Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री वृंदावन माथुर धाम की जय। श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy. This is text number 30. Bhuyaha Tvam Tapaha Atishta Vidyam Cha Eva Mat Ashrayam Tabhyam Antaha Hridi Brahman Lokan Drakshyasi Apavritan Bhuyastvam tapa atishta Bhuyastvam tapa atishta Vidyam chaiva madashrayam Vidyam chaiva madashrayam Tabhyam antarhidi Brahman Tabhyam antarhidi Brahman Lokan drakshyasya pavritan Lokan drakshyasya pavritam Bhuyastvam tapa atishta Vidyam chaiva marashayam Tabhyam antarhidi Brahman Lokan drakshyasya pavritan Bhuyastvam tapa atishta Vidyam chaiva madashrayam Tabhyam antarhidi Brahman Lokan drakshyasya pavritam. Please chant. Bhuyastvam tapa atishta Chaiva marashaya Pavritan Tapa atishta. Bhuyastvam tapa atishta. Marashayam. Lokandrakshyasya bhavritam. Bhuyastvam tapa atishta. Vidyam chaiva marashayam. Tabhyam antarhidi brahman. Lokandrakshyasya pavritan. Bhuyastvam tapa atishta. Vidyam chaiva marashayam. Hri brahman. Lokandrakshyasya pavritan. Matajis. Bhuyastvam tapa atishta. Vidyam chaiva marashayam. Tabhyam antarhidi brahman. Lokandrakshyasya pavritan. Bhuyaha. Again. Tvam. Yourself. Tapaha. Penance. Atishta. Be situated. Vidyam. In the knowledge. Cha. Also. Eva. Certainly. Mat. My. Ashayam. Under the protection. Tabhyam. By those qualifications. Antaha. Within. Hridi. In the heart. Brahman. O Brahmana. Lokan. All the worlds. Drakshyasi. You will see. Apavratan. All disclosed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. O Brahma, situate yourself in penance and meditation and follow the principles of knowledge to receive my favor. By these actions, you will be able to understand everything from within your heart. Purport. The mercy the Lord bestows upon a particular person engaged in executing the responsible work entrusted unto him is beyond imagination, but His mercy is received due to our penance and perseverance in executing devotional service. Brahma was entrusted with the work of creating the planetary systems. The Lord instructed him that when he meditated, he would very easily know where and how the planetary systems must be arranged. The directions were to come from within, and there was no necessity for anxiety in that task. Such instructions of Buddhi Yoga are directly imparted by the Lord from within, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utaf Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminiti Namine Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhuyastvam tapa atishta vidyam chaivam arashayam tabhyam antar hidi brahman lokan draksyasya pavritan. O Brahma, situate yourself in penance and meditation and follow the principles of knowledge to receive my favor. By these actions you will be able to understand everything from within your heart. We are continuing this chapter here where Lord Brahma, he is praying for the creative energy. And this is about the middle of the chapter here, where the Supreme Lord has begun his instructions to Lord Brahma to give him the information and the proper process by which he can begin with his service of creating the universe, and as was described in previous classes, creating this universe in such a way where the conditioned souls can attain the ultimate goal of human life, which is going back home, back to Godhead. In Janardana-Acharya Prabhu's class, he mentioned that this isn't just any ordinary responsibility, that Lord Brahma, he actually has a great duty. He has such a great responsibility. And if you see in his prayers, he was worried whether or not he would be able to do it right. You know, even we do so many things. Some of the most basic things, even something like cooking. You know, you're putting all the ingredients together, and sometimes if you even put a teaspoon too much salt, it can give the whole thing just a really distasteful flavor. Or you put too much of one spice or not enough of something, or you don't cook the vegetables fully, right? It completely ruins the whole thing. So even something as simple as just cooking a sabji, even if you do some small things wrong, it can have disastrous consequences. What to speak of the creation of this whole material manifestation, where everything has been designed so perfectly and exactly. So Lord Brahma, he has this really great duty, this really great responsibility. Yet he's able to remain so humble. And we can sort of see the progress of Lord Brahma throughout this chapter. And I remember when I was first reading through this chapter, I think Janardana-Krsna Prabhu and Giri Prabhu, are you still in the third canto or are you in the fourth canto? Well, they were just reading through this also, and I don't know if you experienced this, but when I first read through this part of Bhagavatam, nothing really jumped out to me so much. I was more or less confused. I mean, I still am very much confused when I read through this section of Bhagavatam, because a lot of it's pretty easy to understand, but there's a lot of very complicated topics and subject matters also, like, you know, the whole creation of the universe is described. You know, this isn't something easy, but specifically when reading through this section here, I've been able to really appreciate the fact more about how the Lord, he really reciprocates with his devotees. And this isn't really something that jumped out to me so much when I was first reading through this section here. But if you can see the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, it's stories about the Lord, but specifically the Lord in relationship with his devotees. And we can see throughout reading the Bhagavatam how Krishna, he really reciprocates in a very extensive way with his devotees. Right here, in the case of Lord Brahma, he was in complete darkness. He was completely in anxiety, completely distraught. Yet the Lord, he greatly reciprocated with Brahma. And you see so many instances, like famous ones in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj. But you go through the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's just over and over again just confirming this fact that Krishna will reciprocate with his devotees. Krishna will give the devotees the knowledge, the information, and the process to come to him. And when they do, he'll so much greatly reciprocate with them that it's almost incomprehensible. Which is what Srila Prabhupada is describing about here in his purport. In the first paragraph here, Srila Prabhupada says that the Lord bestows upon a particular person to such an extent that it's beyond imagination. It isn't something that is some mathematical equation where we can say, okay, I'll do A, B, C, and D, and then the Lord will reciprocate this with me. Even if we're engaged in so many activities, so much devotional service, we can't even calculate, we can't even imagine how much the Lord is willing to reciprocate with his devotees. We can get some idea, not by our own mental speculation or by our own calculations, but by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's really the only way in which we can even get some idea of how the Lord will be able to reciprocate with us. And yeah, this instance of Lord Brahma, it's very applicable to us also, as His Grace Bhrigupati Prabhu was discussing about on a couple verses ago, about how similarly to Lord Brahma, we find ourselves in such a dark situation. We find ourselves in so much delusion. Bhrigupati Prabhu said in his class that ultimately we do not know how the delusion increases, but yet we find it increasing day by day by day by day. It's hard to comprehend, hard to understand how in this material world there's so many things to just bewilder the conditioned souls, to bewilder the living entities. And even if we come to some background of religiosity, like Bhrigupati Prabhu was saying, he was giving this example of how we're still considering the background to be the foreground. We think that this material world is all in all, and I was speaking on this previously also about how they think the most amazing thing that the Supreme Lord can do is just create this material world, just create this cosmic manifestation. But we can see that the Lord, He does so much more than just these small, insignificant things, but actually, by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, we can understand that the Lord is engaged in so much higher activities with His devotees in the spiritual world. So in this purport here, Srila Prabhupada, he takes a lot of information from Bhagavad Gita 10.10. And this here is a very famous verse. It's a very much quoted verse. And I'll go through the beginning part of this 10th chapter here of Bhagavad Gita, because not only is it obviously very applicable to this verse, but it's also very important in going through these points and understanding them, because this is going more into depth what is really being referenced here, as Srila Prabhupada says, that these instructions are that of Buddhi Yoga. And this 10th chapter, Krishna really reveals and talks deeply and intimately about this spiritual science of Buddhi Yoga. So yeah, if you could just pull up the index here. I'll go through a couple of the texts. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Listen again, O mighty armed Arjuna. Because you are my dear friend, for your benefit I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained before." So Krishna is saying here that this Buddhi Yoga, even though he's described so many different things, the process of Karma Yoga, the process of Jnana Yoga, that this process of Buddhi Yoga, it's higher than anything else that he's discussed with Arjuna thus far. And he says, "Neither the host of the demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and the sages." So just by being a great personality, just by knowing so many things, the personality of Lord Brahma, his body is completely made out of intelligence. We can't really even conceive of something like this, but the body of Lord Brahma is completely made out of intelligence. Yet even he was so bewildered with this situation. So it isn't just by being a great person or a really smart, intelligent, and amazing guy that you can understand all of these transcendental subject matters, as Srila Prabhupada describes that such instructions are simply imparted from the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, through him or through his bona fide representatives. "He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the Supreme Lord of all worlds, he only, undiluted among men, is freed from all sins. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy, all these various qualities of the living being are created by me alone. The 7 great sages, and before them, the 4 other great sages, and the Manus, progenitors of mankind, come from me, born from my mind, and all the living beings populating the various planets descend from them. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt." So Krishna is even describing here these points which are very applicable to this specific chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, where he's describing that all of this creation, all of these things, they're actually coming from me. As the previous speakers have been discussing, that Lord Brahma, he only engages in this secondary creation. The creation done by Lord Brahma is only utilizing the ingredients and intelligence which are given to him and presented to him by the Supreme Lord himself. So Krishna is even making this point here to Arjuna, that all of these great personalities, all of these great things that you see in the world, all of them, they're actually coming from me. And not only are they coming from me, but I'm the source of their creation. And then Krishna says, "I'm the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me." And now if you can click on this verse here, 10:10, which Srila Prabhupada referenced here, "Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te." So this topic of Buddhi Yoga, it's specifically referenced here. And Krishna says, "To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give them the understanding by which they come to me." And if you can scroll down a little bit here in the purport, scroll down a little bit. So Krishna says, or Srila Prabhupada describes here, if you go up a little more, that Buddhi Yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. And if you read through this purport here, which I highly encouraged, Srila Prabhupada, he makes this point, which is being discussed in this chapter, that all of these different yoga processes have previously been described: karma yoga, jnana yoga, and the fact that these things are yoga, they aren't just karma or jnana, but the fact that they're yoga means they have this specific emphasis on the Supreme Lord Himself. But higher than doing all of those things, and the most direct and easiest process, is for one to engage in Buddhi Yoga, which is described as devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it's this devotional service which really allows the Lord to reveal Himself to the devotees. Srila Prabhupada describes here that His mercy is received due to our penance and perseverance in executing devotional service. And in this purport of 1010 here, which I was listening to a class by His Holiness Bhakti Vikash Maharaj, and he was saying that this is one of the verses which he goes through and he reads very often. And in this specific class which he gave in 2018, he said that just reading this verse the other day, something really jumped out to him, in which there's just a small sentence in which Srila Prabhupada says that the highest aim of life is Krishna, which is something very simple and easy for us to understand. But if you look throughout the material world, if you look throughout and you ask most people, people don't know that the aim of life is Krishna, right? There's this aphorism, Nate vidu svartha gatim hi Vishnu, that people don't know that the ultimate goal of life is to surrender to Vishnu. Nobody knows this. Nobody is understanding this. And in this class on this verse of Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti Vikash Maharaj was quoting from one great personality where he has this quote, start with your goal in mind. Does anybody know who famously? Yeah, Stephen Covey, who isn't actually a great personality. And previously, even in our Krishna consciousness movement, he was describing that people used to get so much inspiration, so much knowledge and information. They weren't getting it from Srila Prabhupada's books, but they were studying the works of this Stephen Covey, because he has a lot of cute sayings like this one here. He also has the saying, win-win situation, where you should have your situation where I scratch your back, you scratch my back, and we both win. But really, if you look at this material world, everything is a lose-lose situation. Nothing is actually a win-win situation, because ultimately, nate vidu svartha gatim hi Vishnu, that no matter what we do, if we don't know that the ultimate goal of life, we don't know that the aim of what we're doing is to serve Krishna, to surrender to Krishna, then ultimately everything we're doing is just completely useless. So these things, they have to be understood. They have to be seen through the eyes of Shastra, not through our mundane vision and our mundane understanding. We have to see all of these things through the Shastra Chakshu, the eyes of Shastra. So even though this quotation is from a very materialistic personality, His Holiness Bhakti Vikash Maharaj was saying that if you apply this principle to Krishna consciousness, it's actually very important that we should do everything in our lives with the purpose of devotional service to Krishna. And that by dedicating this life to the service of Krishna, we can actually experience, just like Lord Brahma, Krishna directly in our lives. It isn't like Lord Brahma had to even wait till his next birth or his next life, and after engaging in this devotional service, then in his next life he could connect with, understand, and realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we can see that in Lord Brahma's very life. He's getting direct instruction, getting direct. He's seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, and this phenomenon. It's very amazing, and it's difficult for us to comprehend or understand. But we can see that by engaging in devotional service, we can also come to this high level. We can also come up to the understanding of seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is this point that's very much emphasized, that through this process of bhakti, it allows the bhakta to connect with Bhagavan. Right? These are the three different things: the bhakta, the sadhaka, the one who's practicing devotional service, the devotional service, not just any sort of service, but it's very important that this has to be done with the mood and understanding of love. It isn't just that we engage in some sort of activity, just whatever we want to do, but devotional service, it should be very much us trying to rack our brains and very much trying to understand, what does Krishna want? How can I serve and please Krishna and do what Krishna wants? It isn't just that, I'm actually such a great person, and I can understand everything that Krishna's telling me within my own heart. Like I'm on the same level here as Lord Brahma, right? I think this point was made in some previous classes that this is something that's possible to get guidance, direction directly from in one's heart, but we have to be very elevated, very exalted to experience this phenomenon. Even just yesterday, some person that I know very well, they were describing to me that they didn't want a particular situation in regards to book distribution because they thought it would be dangerous, they thought it would be difficult. And even though I gave so many reasons why that is not the case, ultimately they said, but this is what I feel Super Soul is telling me from inside. So you should listen to me because this is what Krishna is telling me from inside. Right? But we can see that in Bhagavad Gita itself that Krishna says that one who preaches this message of Krishna consciousness, one who spreads this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, this person is most dear to me. So even if a situation might be slightly dangerous, or even if some things might be unknown, Krishna says, Neha bikramanasosti pratyavayo navidyate svalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat, that there is no loss or diminution on this path. So even if one goes into a situation for preaching Krishna consciousness or spreading Krishna consciousness, that even if something for some reason or other might happen to this person, the fact that they're engaged in this preaching mission of Krishna, they're trying to spread this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, that they're actually doing what is for the highest benefit of themselves. Right? We were just hearing the amazing class of Divyanga Prabhu while Prabhu was here, and he was talking about all of the different instances where he was getting arrested, having to go to court, doing all these various different things. And from a materialistic point of view, you might see, this person, they could be doing so much more with their life, but instead they're just getting arrested and having encounters with the police and with law enforcement. But for one who has actual intelligence, for one who actually knows this amazing science of Buddhi Yoga, they can understand that what Divyanga Prabhu is doing is for his highest benefit. It's the most important activity, not only for himself, but for all the conditioned souls that happen to meet him. Right? Even, being such an exalted personality, even having an interaction with him, people are getting benefit. Because he's going out there and every day he's engaging in this activity that's most dear to Krishna. So by encountering someone who's most dear to Krishna, people that are getting so much benefit. Obviously we should do things with some intelligence also, where we shouldn't just try to, distribute books in such a way in which we can get arrested every single time, right? But we can see that even if by chance something does happen when we're out on Sankirtan, that because we have this highest intelligence, we're on this platform of Buddha Yoga, where we're directly engaging in the Lord's devotional service, that, it's what we're doing, it's for our and everybody's highest amount of benefit. So we can see that someone speaking like this, that, actually Krishna's telling me this within my heart, that if this person goes and distributes books here, then, it's actually not very good for them to do this, and actually they should do something else. That we can see this is actually one's own mind. This isn't coming from Krishna. And this is the unfortunate circumstances where when we aren't completely purified through the penance and perseverance of executing devotional service, that it's very hard for us to decide what's coming from Krishna within and what's coming just simply as a concoction of our own mind. So we should be very, very, very particular, and we should very much try to develop this discrimination by which we can understand, and oftentimes we might not have that high level of intelligence. We might not have that ability to discriminate, and this is why it's really important for us to have the association of devotees and the association of the spiritual master. Because, and also very importantly, like I was just quoting that verse from Bhagavad Gita, but by reading Prabhupada's books also, we'll actually be able to understand and decipher, okay, what is my own mind, what is just coming as a mental concoction, and what is actually coming from Krishna. And because we aren't on this level really to get guidance from Krishna from inside, we should seek the guidance of senior devotees, senior God brothers, and especially guidance from the spiritual master. And Srila Prabhupada, he makes all of these points here in this purport here in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, but just really surrendering to the devotees and to the spiritual master, and just trying to get as much guidance and information from them as they possibly can. And gradually we will make advancement in this way in devotional service. And all of these points, they're very much illustrated throughout this Srimad Bhagavatam. One point here that Srila Prabhupada makes in this purport here, that he describes that this process of Buddha Yoga, it's a very slow and progressive process. It isn't just something that happens overnight. And we can see here in the case of Lord Brahma that he's also illustrating this point. That it isn't just that, Lord Brahma looked around him, he just saw some darkness, and then he just thought for a moment, what can I do? And then Krishna revealed everything to him. But he was engaged in years and years and years of austerity, penance, meditation. For him, it was a long, slow, and progressive process. And for us also, even though we realize that, even though it's a, as is described, a slow and progressive process, it's faster than everything else. It's so much faster than these processes of karma, jnana, or even other processes of yoga, that still we should understand that it isn't like we're going to be a pure devotee overnight. But by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, by reading Bhagavad Gita, we can get practical experience of this. And we can rest assured that Krishna will reciprocate with the devotees. And Krishna, time and time again throughout Bhagavad Gita, he assures Arjuna of this point, where it almost seems like every time Arjuna brings up some sort of argument, some sort of point, Krishna gives him so many different counter-arguments and different ways in which he can get the proper understanding. But ultimately, a lot of times, Krishna says, just completely trust in me and what I'm saying, and if you simply follow my instructions, there is no doubt that you will be rewarded, that you will get this highest benefit. And there was this really amazing point that Srila Prabhupada makes in the last paragraph here, if you can go to that. Go down a little bit more. There we go. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him the chance to make progress and ultimately attain him. So even at least speaking for myself, being not very intelligent, being, not very capable of performing so much devotional service, still, we're getting this reassurance here by Srila Prabhupada that if we're simply sincere and do everything with this mood of loving service for Krishna, Krishna will give us the intelligence. Krishna will give us this reciprocation. Krishna will give us this connection and this highest benefit, which one achieves through this process of Buddhi Yoga. And, even after doing so much activity, we might think, I still have so many material desires. I still have so many anarthas. I still have so many things that I'm struggling with and I'm dealing with. Maybe this process doesn't work. Some people, they come to this conclusion, even after practicing Krishna consciousness for 10 years, being long-time brahmachari, being a book distributor. They say that, even after doing this for so long, I'm still not a pure devotee. Maybe this doesn't work. People actually come to this conclusion. But if we have strong faith in Srila Prabhupada's books, and we have a strong desire to simply serve Krishna with this sincere attitude of devotion, we can have full faith that even if we aren't practically experiencing it now, Krishna will reciprocate with us. Krishna will give us this intelligence by which we can come back to him. And it's even described that if one engages in the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya for their whole life, Lord Chaitanya will personally come and take them back home, back to Godhead. So even if we might think, my intelligence isn't so pure, I still have so many material desires, if we simply go on sincerely in this effort, then we should have no doubt that Lord Chaitanya, Krishna, all of the disciplic succession, they will personally take us back home, back to Godhead. And it's this point, though, it's very much stressed that we should do everything with sincerity and with devotion. And a lot of, every service that one engages in, it cultivates this mood and this attitude. But we can specifically see that with book distribution, with this transcendental process of Sankirtan, that these things, they become very apparent. And one can experience that if one is simply sincere and devoted, they can very easily see Krishna's reciprocation. And they can very much cultivate this attitude of devotion and sincerity. Because if we try to be puffed up out there and think that we're on the level of Lord Brahman, that we're the creators and controllers of everything, we can see that, Krishna can take away any so-called ability, any so-called, great or charismatic persona that we might think that we have, and in a moment's time, we can feel very insignificant, and we can very much understand that actually everything is just coming through the mercy of Krishna. And another very great method for understanding this is the whole system of Varnashram Dharma, and specifically these farm communities. I'll go over a little section here that I was reading in Science of Self-Realization the other day, where Srila Prabhupada, this chapter here is called Declaring Our Dependence on God. And Srila Prabhupada starts off with, describing how if the government is perfect, they can actually perfectly instruct the people, and that we should do things depending on the quality of the person, not just saying that everybody is all the same. And then he brings up this idea of Varnashram Dharma, and the very amazing points that Srila Prabhupada makes here. He says that America is roguism. They should first understand that this land belongs to God, and then invite people to come and produce food. And that Varnashram trains people that everything belongs to God and should be used in His service. And that leaders, they have to accept some sort of supreme controller. So these Varnashram farms, this system of Varnashram itself, it makes one more dependent on Krishna, but specifically these Varnashram farm communities, they teach one really that nothing belongs to them. Everything belongs to Krishna, and we're actually fully dependent on Krishna for everything. Here where we're living in this artificial, materialistic civilization, when we presented these new sets of the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada to His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. I think you can see this video now on Krishna Life Media for those who weren't there. One of the sections that Maharaj read out was all of the different things that Srila Prabhupada called this materialistic civilization, and I encourage everybody to go through these things again and again. It's in volume 2. But by reading these things, we can really get a grasp and understanding of what this I called it artificial and materialistic civilization is, but that's actually pretty high praise for what it actually is, and what Srila Prabhupada calls it. But we have air conditioning, we have refrigeration, we have everything. We can just go to the grocery store, get it. We have things that are flown in from basically across the country, and we and ourselves and so many people can just have this understanding that, I can easily provide everything for myself. I can make all the arrangements necessary for what I need. But when one is actually on one of these simple living and high thinking Varnashram farms, that they're completely dependent on Krishna for everything, for the weather, for the rain, for one's food, for one's livelihood. If one's means of livelihood is selling and distributing products just grown off of the farm, if the cows aren't giving as much milk, if the Lord isn't giving as much rain, if we might do everything right, but then some animals might come and they might eat up the whole crop. So we're very much more in this consciousness of I'm not the controller, and we're also more in this consciousness of I'm not the enjoyer, because here we have so many different facilities for sense gratification. In this artificial, materialistic civilization, you can, and we can practically see that the materialists, they're concocting more and more ideas almost every single day in how we can increase our sense gratification. Whether it's through technology, whether it's through the latest amusement park or the newest fashion or the newest pair of shoes. So many things they're just trying to come up with more and more ways of increasing their sense gratification. But we can see on these farms it limits this sense gratification more. Which is why when this materialism became more and more rampant, people got more and more away from this traditional lifestyle, which was even prevalent, even 100, 200 years ago. I was at Virginia Tech University with Janardana-Krsna Prabhu, and I spoke with this one professor, and he was really into the books. He got a Bhakta stack, and he was telling me about how he doesn't really use his phone or tries to stay aloof from modern technology and everything like that. But he was like, even just 10 years ago here, the climate was so different. Now it's just like there's basically winter and then there's summer. And he was saying because of seeing all these disturbances, he's trying to seek more of a traditional lifestyle. And apparently there's this island that's just off the coast of Virginia where, because it's a bit more isolated, they haven't had as much material advancement as everybody else. They live more of a traditional lifestyle. He said that he just visited there a summer ago, and it's like they're still living even like 50 years back than how we're living now. And he said he was talking to the people there, and they were telling him that, yeah, I grew up without electricity. I grew up just growing things, providing for myself. And he was like, yeah, even though these people, they weren't materially advanced, they were still some of the nicest and happiest people that I had ever met. So we can see that this material advancement, this so-called advancement of material life, it isn't actually doing anything for us, So when one understands that the aim of life is Krishna, when one understands that this process of devotional service, this process of Buddhi Yoga, it's the only means for, especially for this Kali Yuga, it's our greatest activity for connecting with the Supreme Lord. And if we understand that through these processes of Sankirtan, book distribution, and of Varnashram, of farm communities, are the best ways by which we can come to this level of consciousness where we can elevate our material consciousness to Krishna consciousness, then we should really pursue these things with great enthusiasm and with great perseverance. We shouldn't just settle with the bare minimum, but we should try to keep on increasing, keep on pushing this forward, keep on doing these activities and sharing these activities with people more and more and more. And in this ways, we'll be able to understand and experience that the aim of our life is Krishna, and we'll be able to have so many other people experience this also. Because, without these two greatest welfare activities for everybody, what hope is there? What hope is there? Seriously, there really isn't any hope if we don't keep on going with this book distribution. And especially now, as Maharaj has been saying, it's more important than ever to establish these farms. So we should create these things with very much enthusiasm, and we should always be meditating on how to increase these things more and more and more. And in this way, if we just do these things with devotion and sincerity, then Krishna will give us all intelligence to keep on going in this way. And then, there is no doubt that if we simply engage in these platforms of books and farms that Krishna will greatly reciprocate with us. So I think I went a little bit over time, but I'll end my class here. If there's any questions, corrections, or comments, we can have a discussion now. Charan Prabhu?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, in one sense, going to the farm will uplift us in devotional service. It will keep us fixed in devotional service. But at the same time, it's not that we are trying to run away, go to the forest, get away from all the Maya, just live in the forest because there are not many distractions. Because it's impossible for us to find such a situation where it's distractionless. So, there are some examples that Prabhupada says that if we are attached to chanting Hare Krishna, if we are attached to the holy name, it doesn't matter where we stay. Someone can be in hell and they can still preach, chant Hare Krishna and uplift like devotees. Of course, like none of us are in that position. I am definitely not. But yeah, I was just trying to make the point that if the attachment is there in books and farms also, if we do books and farms and we are not feeling that attachment for the holy name, then Shramayavi Kevalam. So it's if it leads to attachment of the holy name, then that's.
Ultimately, if we engage in these activities, that will no doubt come about. And the idea of moving to the farm isn't just so we can escape from material life and just be on a farm because I like cows, I like soil, I like to grow things, right? But the idea of the farm isn't just so we can be farmers, right? And we were once this and now we're that, and now we're going to be farmers. But the whole idea, like you were saying, one can be Krishna conscious in every situation, but we should see what is the most conducive situation, because we also have this strong desire to uplift as many people as we can in Krishna consciousness. So we shouldn't just say that if you can't do the hardest thing possible, like our only Krishna conscious center is in Miami, Florida, where there's so much Maya, and if you can't be Krishna conscious here, good luck, right? But we should make it as conducive as we possibly can for as many people as we can to take up to this process of Krishna consciousness. And we'll find, like you said also, if we're in an environment that's more conducive and we're actually engaged, the emphasis that Prabhupada gives isn't necessarily just on performing the service itself, but on doing it with the mood of sincerity and doing it with the attitude of devotion. And if you engage in your service with these two things in mind, then great attachment to the holy name will naturally come about. So it isn't that we should think, first I have to become, like a namacharya and just purely chant, the holy name. Then only I can go out and preach. But by engaging in these activities of devotional service with sincerity and with love, these things, they'll naturally come about. So these points that you're making, they're very important, but we should understand them in connection with all these other aspects of Krishna consciousness, where we should make a situation that's conducive, and we should also understand that by engaging in these transcendental activities that have been given to us by the spiritual master, it's no doubt that strong and firm faith and attachment for the holy name will come about. Rishi Kumar Prabhu. Amayamar Prabhu also.
Is yours on? I was going to say something on this point. Did you?
Recently I read this the point. The Mayavadi, they already self-realized. They already beyond of the Rajagun and Tamagun. They already can realize the soul. They can realize the supreme. They have some understanding, but still they don't understand who is Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada make a point that even Mayavadi, who is beyond of this lowest modes of material nature, cannot understand who is Krishna himself, what to speak about people who is under the influence of Tamagun and Rajagun. And if you speak with people who living in a city, they are mostly under the guidance of this lowest modes of material nature. So it looks like you speak another language. It really is like you tell them, and they cannot understand what you want. Like you told it, why you live like animals, like you should change your life, and what you speak about, and they cannot. Like when we went, this is south state of U.S. and I spoke with one person, and he cannot, and because he's like a south person, he like have different accent, and he completely cannot understand what I speak about, because it's really different. You cannot like explain them what is the goal of life, because they have completely different understanding. And you can see, like you told, it's not our purpose of life to grow the vegetables and take care about cows. And Guru Maharaj gave an interesting point also a few days ago. He told in Alacho so many Prabhupada disciples, so many devotees like living, and one devotee told me 1,500 devotees living. Yes, it's like this, 1,500. 2,000 devotees living like nearby, and they almost all of them, they not follow the Ekadashi. And Guru Maharaj told, when you go to this sadhu sangha, should make a point, like openly, like why you not follow, why devotees not follow. He told this few days ago in the lecture. It's mean. You can see we distributed so many books, and it's not like these devotees don't have books. All of them almost they have Prabhupada books, like at least like Bhagavad Gita they have, and Srimad Bhagavatam also almost. It's not like you can come and them, Prabhu, you should take the books, and really they have, and they all of them almost like they have 10 years, 20 years, like some of them 50 years in the movement. But we should make a point that you should follow at least Ekadashi. What to speak about the higher philosophy? It's not like now the point we should distribute books. We should preach whatever wrote in the books. Prabhupada wrote in his books. It's mean like we should ask them. You should follow, and somehow or other. This point.
Books and farms without attachment to the holy name, it's actually not Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. It's actually a good use of time, even if someone doesn't have attachment to the holy name, because the whole purpose of the farms or establishing Varnashram Dharma is it's giving a foundation to society, so then people can actually go towards spiritual advancement. If you hear this conversation from from February 14th, 1977, the title of it is Varnashram Must Be Introduced in Mayapur. The devotees are bringing up all these different questions to Srila Prabhupada that are on all the main questions you usually hear about Varnashram. And so one of the first ones is, well, I thought that chanting Hare Krishna is, Varnashram's not possible in Kali Yuga, therefore there's chanting Hare Krishna, which is the most important thing, so we just do that. And so then Srila Prabhupada explains to that devotee that this point, that the whole purpose of establishing Varnashram is you can give someone a proper foundation for the society at large so that they can make spiritual progress. Because as long as they're living like animals and demons and less than these things, there's no question of spiritual life. So there's one reason where even if farms are established and books are going out, and someone has pushed that forward, and that person doesn't have attachment for purely chanting, it's not Shramevi Kevalam, because it's actually a good use of time.
Yeah.
They're making a foundation for the rest of the world to become Krishna conscious. Even if the books, sometimes we engage random people at a college or like a festival in distributing books, and their brain's like completely fried. It's just like some random person we met. They don't have any attachment for chanting, but they distribute like a couple Bhakta stacks, and then we never see them again or something. But that's actually great for them. They made great advancement. And then what to speak of someone who got those books can become a pure devotee in this lifetime. So it's a good project for anybody to engage in, because it's letting the whole world actually be uplifted to Krishna consciousness. There was just one other question also in that conversation with Srila Prabhupada, where a devotee was asking if Vaishnavas are the highest thing, then why are you saying we should establish, Varnashram, where you have Shudras, Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, Brahmanas, and all these things? Someone should just join us and become a Vaishnava, and then they're beyond all these things, like Lord Chaitanya. But Srila Prabhupada makes the point that if they're beyond all these things, why are they falling down? And also that we're not on the same level as Lord Chaitanya, where he was saying he rejected society altogether. He said eho bahya, which I guess, I don't know what the translation is, but he's rejecting society altogether. But Srila Prabhupada said we're not doing that because we're trying to uplift the whole society. So he said Varnashram, it's not required, because if someone's purely Krishna conscious, then that they can go back to Godhead. But for the sake of the whole broader society being able to become Krishna conscious, we actually have to establish Varnashram Dharma.
Yeah, those are two really, really good points, bro. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So, this Prabhu made a nice point about they don't follow Ekadashi in Alachua. Now, I'm trying to speak with some wealth. Basically, when you say something, you should speak like try to help the situation. So, in Alachua they say that it's the place where they have the most Prabhupada disciples. I'm not sure that's correct, but it may be true. But
yeah.
My friend told me that in Alachua there's a lot of illicit sex going on there too. And these are facts, So we have to speak the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. So that was nice. We have to basically look. This ISKCON is supposed to go to history of having saved the world, right? This is Prabhupada's movement. So we have Krishna life here. There's Krishna house, Krishna West. Can't we all just get along? I don't know. We have to. This is a big thing right here. I heard that Maharaj is banned from ISV, which is crazy to me, right? So we have to do something about this. He's a misogynist, right? Which means that he hates women. He actually loves women. He actually wants to protect them. He wants to help them. This is nonsense, actually. So I don't know. We have to do something. I don't know. I'm gonna have to call to the GBC, talk to all these people, all these who are running the show, all these people who are doing the don't worry. This is gonna be handled, because he's banned from ISV. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm just Haribol, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Hare Krishna, Haribol. I'm gonna speak. I'm gonna say this Sangha. It's gonna go down good. I'm gonna be humble. But I'm not going to hold back when it comes down to the truth. We cannot. We'll die for the truth. We'll die for the truth. Haribol.
Jai. Mataji's, any questions? Yes.
In the purport of this verse, it says that the mercy the Lord bestows upon a particular person to engage in executing the responsible work entrusted unto him is beyond imagination, but his mercy is received due to our penance and perseverance in executing devotional service. And in the previous verse, it says that if one is prideful, then, what does it say distinctly? Basically, if you have pride, then if one is falsely proud then they can't execute anything nicely. So how do we abide by following and executing the responsibilities of devotional life? And how do we avoid getting attached to our endeavors and trying to do that and getting puffed up in that? Because that also makes us fall off the path.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of these how-to questions, Bhakti Vikash Maharaj, he often says, the best way is to find a devotee who has those qualities which you're trying to imbibe. So in this instance, someone who's executing high-level devotional service, but without being puffed up and without being prideful, you can not only inquire, but you can serve that devotee. And then you'll naturally gain those qualities. So that would be the best thing to do. But yeah, just we're not perfect, and we're here executing this process of devotional service. And it isn't like all of a sudden, overnight, all of our pride, all of our ego, and everything is just going to go away. But we should understand that if we try to just keep on with this process of devotional service, and specifically how Lord Chaitanya taught it, like that Shikshastakam, if you go through that Shikshastakam and you try to imbibe all of those principles, specifically, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarore Vasahishnuna, all of these principles that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he discusses, we can meditate on these different activities while we're doing our devotional service. So those are two practical things that I would suggest. Philosophically, I think we can already understand, but if you're looking for more practical things, those are two things that I would suggest. All right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Beginning from Rupa Goswami down to Raghunath Das Goswami, for the at their notice. When I